and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She's a transformational coach and co creating a new world with courage and breath. One story, one conversation, one step at a time. No other than Miss Ibeth Ayala.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Ibeth. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. So, yes, my name is Ibeth Ayala, and I am originally born and raised in Mexico. I have lived in different countries, including the US, the UK, Germany, and of course now Canada. And one of the things that I'm passionate about and that I've experienced throughout my whole life is change and learning how to adapt to change and learning how to embrace the change from a place of awareness and choosing to co-create something more beautiful and better. As a result of that, I've been focusing a lot on innovation, which for me, innovation means creativity and creating new things, experiences, moments, solutions, and transformation, helping people move through the changes in a fun, open, and easy way instead of the painful, suffering, challenging, frustrating way. So, yeah, thank you for having me here.
Miss Ibeth Ayala, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today let's talk about no risk, no fun from burnout to bold innovations. What inspired you to have this advocacy and can you please explain to us?
Yeah, so No Risk, No Fun. It's really a book that is meant to be a guide for the reader. And
Mm.
in it, I share a whole journey of how to tap into the human side of innovation to really co create a better world. And what inspired me to write the book was I worked with the insurance people, insurance, reinsurance, financial services for about 10 years. And that is an industry that a lot of people tend to mistrust or believe that they are the furthest possible from a human centric purpose or approach. And what I saw in those 10 years was the human side of the people that work there, the people that wanted to do something good in the world for their customers and also for their teams inside each organization. And I also saw the struggles, the things that got in the way. A lot of people would come to the sessions that I facilitated with definitive belief that they knew innovation, they knew how to be innovative, that they knew how to follow methodologies that would help them be innovative. But then they wouldn't actually be innovative. They would struggle, they would feel frustration, they would feel pain and suffering. And what I started to realize more and more is they were neglecting the one thing that was needed for the innovation to come through, which is the human side. And a lot of the times, what was experienced more than anything was burnout, the stress of not finding a solution, stress of not understanding a methodology, stress of the team not working together, stress due to lack of clarity, lack of trust within themselves, the team, the decision makers. And after 10 years, I decided to write a book that can be used as a guide, as I said earlier, for anyone that picks it up.
Yes, and thank you for sharing to the world, Ms. Ibeth. And how does your book redefine the concept of risk in the context of insurance innovation?
It really defines it from a place of really human centric, but not just focusing on the customer, focusing on the person wanting to be innovative, especially in an industry that is known for being extremely conservative, having that mentality of we've always done it this way. Why do we need to change? When in reality, innovation is all about change. It's all about trying new things and failing and taking risks. And so, in an industry that is risk adverse, that is trying to mitigate the risk, of course, it can feel more challenging to be innovative because innovation is all about taking the risks, trusting that it's going to lead you to an awareness, to insights, and to the solutions that you're looking for. So, the book really turns it around and it starts with an internal journey, an internal journey of letting go of fear, fear of failure, fear of being judged, fear of missing out, fear of losing your job, fear of being ignored, all the different kinds of fear that that people have to go through, and taking those risks so that we can actually move through those barriers and be able to understand and see different perspectives, and then be able to implement the different concepts, the new concepts that are going to make their company, their experience, their processes even better.
Yes, people take the risk and don't be afraid. And don't care what people say about you because you are you. And Miss Beth, what do you mean by the human side of innovation in insurance sector?
Yes. So when I started working with people in the industry coming in to co-create, we call it co-creation because they were competitors coming in to work together to come up with a solution to a specific challenge that the industry was facing. And a lot of them would come in with the intellect, with the knowledge of we have a process that we follow, usually design thinking, we know it, we know the steps, we know what to do, but they were ignoring the human aspect of it, not so much of the consumer, the end user, but of the team themselves. So in the book, I really invite people to reflect on how they are feeling as a person. What is their relationship to innovation? What is their clarity about innovation? What does it even mean to them? As a human, what does fear look like, taste like, sound like? And what other things are getting in the way of creativity from a human perspective? And a lot of the times people, especially in the professional sectors, especially in the corporate sectors, they want to avoid emotions, they want to avoid feelings because if it's felt or it's concluded that we need to just be smart about it and think with your head and not your heart and get things done, when in reality part of being human is having that balance and that connection of our heart and mind. So the human side of innovation in insurance, it's really an invitation for the reader, especially in the insurance industry, to allow themselves to be human, to allow themselves to feel the fear, the concerns, the hesitations, to understand them so that they're able to move through them and be able to really be that innovative person that they want to be, which they already are. We just have to move through those barriers and blockages, those limiting beliefs, really. And in an industry like insurance, it's really all about people, the humans, that is extremely, extremely important.
Very well said, Miss Beth. Very well said. How do you identify the need for a more human centered approach to insurance innovation?
Well, it was very transparent when we first started talking to people on the streets. One of the things that we do, or that I do when I run this type of sessions, whether it's with a team or one person, is we actually go out and talk to people and hear what they have to say about insurance, their perspective. How do they see insurance? How much do they trust insurance? And what we discovered every time we went out, and we did this in different countries, in different continents, from Singapore, India, Germany, the Netherlands, Colombia, the US, Canada, 90% of the people would identify their perspective toward insurance to be a negative one: complicated, difficult to understand, challenging, they're thieves, we can't trust them. And in essence, it was pretty sad to hear those things, and yet not surprising. And it's not saying that all the insurance organizations are the same, it's just that we hear more of the negative experiences over the positive experiences. And that is what people are sharing more and more. So there is a big gap between what insurance is, the purpose of it, what they're delivering, and what the people are experiencing, their understanding of it. I mean, the fact that they're saying we don't even understand the documents that were sent, that just goes to show that there's a big disconnect, and the needs of the customers, the human needs, are being to a certain degree disregarded or not tended to. And so the human side, it's really about how can we as an industry really show up to deliver the essence, the purpose that the concept of insurance was designed to be. The concept of insurance comes back or comes in back from the Viking era when the ships used to sail out with all of the goods. And like I said, it wasn't the name insurance, but it was the concept of insurance. The concept of these people that live close to the ocean, knowing the ship is gone. It's not a matter of what if it gets sunken. It was about when it sinks, what are we going to do? What are we going to do with those goods that are going to be lost? More important, what are we going to do with the families that are left behind? Do we have a plan in place? So the concept of insurance dates back to that, of being proactively prepared when something tragic happens. It wasn't until the late 1800s, early 1900s that the first policy was written and signed, and then it shifted. It became more of a business mentality. But the concept itself, the essence, it's all about community. So the human side of innovation in insurance is really about going back to the roots of what insurance is meant to be, to bring clarity to the people that need help when they need it, to teach them, to show them, to have a more honest and transparent conversation. But not just the end user, but also the people serving the industry. 9 out of 10 people that I work with that were working in insurance organizations, when I asked them why they chose that job, they genuinely said, because I want to help people. And these are amazingly kind hearted people that really want to be there for the people when something tragic happens, whether it's a car accident, travel, your luggage gets lost, or something more damaging like storms or flooding. People actually want to help. And it makes sense. They go back to that essence, that concept of insurance. So that's how I see the human side of innovation kicking back into this industry. I do call me a dreamer. I'm okay with that. I do see it as a possibility. Just like there's a possibility of that not happening, there's also a possibility of making that happen if we choose to get in touch with our human side so that we can clearly understand and hear the human side of the others around us.
Miss Ibeth, how does your book address the balance between risk taking and regulatory compliance?
Well, a lot of that has to do with building a relationship with oneself to have those challenging conversations. Because, yes, it's a very regulated industry. And what I noticed, there's a lot of avoidance. Because it's too risky, people will just avoid having those conversations. And so instead of actually taking on the challenge and putting themselves forward and having on these conversations, they're just avoiding it. They're just saying, we'll just figure how to do it differently. But it's not really differently. Maybe it's changing the length of a document while making sure that it's still compliant, or changing the colors on the website. But we're still not addressing the key aspects of it. And the key aspects of it is looking really to sometimes it's the essentials of it. Sometimes it is taking the time to just connect with people. And if we connect with people and we hear that even more, then it becomes a trusting relationship that then can be transferred into all the regulatory sessions, right? There's also a lot of people out there right now that are co-creating insurance communities where it's community based, where the concept is there. So there's a lot of things that are shifting, and an example I have is pet insurance. You know, a lot of people have pets, but a lot of people have come to realize that pet insurance is quite pricey. I know I have 5 pets and they're all insured. Um, and a lot of people don't have that, but what they do have is the care and the commitment to those animals. So there's an organization that started this community-based pet insurance, and what they did is, as a community, they all pitched in, you know, to protect the animals, and they would take care of the animals together. And there's small little pockets of, you know, such examples, but they exist, which gives me the evidence that there is a way to redefine things. There is a way to disrupt the flow without breaking the law, without being illegal, without ignoring the regulations. It's just that it takes time and it takes effort and it takes courage and bravery to go out there and challenge it.
Miss Ibeth, what role does technology like AI or blockchain play in the innovations you discuss?
All technologies play an immense role in any industry, but specifically in insurance, because we have to catch up with the technologies that are out there. Um, just recently, I've been working with an innovation committee. We're planning an innovation summit where we're literally going to talk about AI. One of the biggest challenges we see, it always boils down to the same thing, is fear, whether it's regulatory conversations, fear of getting blocked, fear of getting challenged, fear of, you know, the lengthy conversations. Same thing goes with AI and any other technology. It's something new. It's fear of the disruption, fear of how long is it going to take us to adjust, how long is it going to take us to redesign what we've been doing because we've always done it this way. And at the same time, there's the fear of losing the customers, losing the loyalty because they're falling behind. They don't have certain technologies in place to make the user experiences easier or more available, right? So in the book, I remind people that in order for us in the industry to adapt to these technologies or bring those technologies in, we have to move through the fear, the discomfort. And a way to do that is to really step into the discomfort. And there's different things that we can do as human beings to embrace uncomfortable feelings. And they're very, my way of doing them is it's very unconventional. It's, you know, putting ourselves out in nature, spending a day or a night in the dark out in the forest, getting really uncomfortable with that place of the darkness, of not knowing the place, doing, you know, cold exposure, working with our hands. The reason why this is important is because those things that I'm describing, being out in the dark in the forest, cold plunging, spoon carving, at one point those were technologies thousands of years ago that we as humans had to adapt and had to get used to and had to move through the discomfort and the fear. So if we go back to those basics little by little, we're actually reprogramming our mind to embrace the unknown and to look from a different perspective with clarity. How do we work with that so that we don't see these things as a threatening tool, but more as a tool that we can leverage? And the more we understand it, the better we can choose how we can leverage it in a safe, good way.
Miss Yvette, as an author and coach, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
My short term is to continue to grow my own awareness as I continue to be of service, to work with humans, to support the fellow um, innovators, whether in insurance or any other industry, to move through this uncomfortableness and to really design a life that is beautiful, a world that is healthier, that it's much more enjoyable, not just for this moment, but there we go for the long term. My long term is coming up. I have retreats that I'm planning where I can invite people to go out in nature, where I can invite people to work with their hands and collaborate with other people, collaborate with nature connection instructors, collaborate with ancestral teachers, people that can teach us how to you know work with a knife and a piece of wood and create something amazing like a spoon or a bowl, how to you know work with fire, so that we can go back to those basics and have that balance of the past, the present, so that we're able to step into the future. So my long-term goal is really to continue to disrupt, to continue to be myself, like you said, even if it means being judged or criticized. There are other people that are welcoming, that are wanting these kind of conversations, that are in desperate need for a space where they can be this creative risk takers and have fun while they're doing it.
Well, good luck to your goals and looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be an author as well as a coach?
Well, for those that want to be an author as well as a coach, for those that want to be a coach, just keep listening to the guidance in your heart and your soul. Keep leveraging your own experiences and welcome that those experiences showed up to support you, to support others. They're not your stories to keep. They're not your experiences to define you. They're your experiences to share and to move through. As an author, patience and clarity and embracing the storytelling part of it. I found it's beautiful when we can, as an author, share our stories as part of the message in the book and not separate one or the other. It's all one, really.
Thank you for that advice, Miss Ibeth. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yes. So there are two that come to mind. The first one is The Power of Now. I read that book about 9 years ago when I first came to Canada, and it was amazing. I took it on a horse trail for 5 nights, and it was so good that I kept writing notes in it. And actually, that book inspired me to include pages for people to write their own notes. So in the books that I have, No Risk, No Fun, and From the Ground Up, after every chapter, there's a space for you to write your own thoughts and what's moving through you because I love writing that. But The Power of Now was very impactful. And about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it was Paulo Coelho. It wasn't The Alchemist. My first one was not The Alchemist. It was By the River Piedra. I sat down and wept. Those two books have been meaningful in their essence, their message, but also the authenticity of the authors and how they express themselves and the vision of the why they wrote the books, which is why I got inspired to do the same with the books that I've written.
Thank you for the recommended books, Miss Ibeth. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in its fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in fourth season, Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Yvette, if we can, or what do you hope readers take away from No Risk, No Fun to apply in their own work of lives?
What I hope the readers take away from No Risk, No Fun is the courage to reconnect with themselves, to identify the fears, to follow the steps in the book so that they can sit with that fear, love it, have a conversation with it, say thank you, give it a place in their life, and make room for more to come. The more we release those fears, the more we receive the opposite of that. The thing that we think we're never going to get will start showing up. So if we want creativity, we remove the fear of failure, we remove the fear of looking bad, of embarrassment, and what we embrace is fun, the creativity itself, and of course solutions and a positive impact in the world.
Miss Ibeth Ayala, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your books, your coaching, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, definitely. The books are found on Amazon. They're both in English and Spanish. You can visit my website, innovision.coach. There are programs, online programs there, and you can follow when I'm next going to be speaking in the world. And social media, you can find me there and connect. I'm always happy to have a conversation. That is one way that we change the world, one conversation at a time.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Ibeth Ayala because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering books to come, more and more empowering coaching to come. So, Miss Ibeth, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
Marticon people, see you soon.